Hey, everybody, it's time to talk war stories again with myself and Dr. Andy Barlow. Andy, it's always a joy to see you every week, my friend.
It's Brady. It's just awesome to be here and be invited to speak to your group of doctors, and I just really appreciate you, man. So thank you.
Last week when we figured out that our schedules have aligned and that I'm on my way to Mississippi next month, I've been very excited.
Yeah, we're looking forward to seeing you, man. And and I've got an upcoming seminar this coming weekend in Conroe, Texas, which is just outside of Houston. If anybody's interested, they could contact me on the information below. But it's going to be a phenomenal weekend. It's going to be Dr. Rob Kuhn and myself. He's going to be going over a lot of marketing and headspace and those types of things. I'm going to be crushing the neurology aspect and how to, just do a neurological exam and be more efficient in the clinic so that, and our communication skills and explain to patients what this means and how to interpret that and how this is negatively impacting your brain or right. If it is, or so. And I think at the seminar that I'm giving this weekend, and I've talked about this a lot of times at my seminars, is, stop looking at the blinky light is what I call it. It's like somebody comes in with a shoulder problem, just something simple like a frozen shoulder. And, from a trigenic standpoint, I know how to fix this, but, we also have to look at, when we're looking at the shoulder, we understand that the innervation from that is C5. And C5 controls all the muscles in your shoulder except for 3. But also this shoulder, if I'm having a right shoulder problem, my right cerebellum and my contralateral brain is also being negatively impacted by that. Because see, if I can't pick my arm up past this point, all the muscles that are associated with this movement here will atrophy within about 2 weeks. They'll start to atrophy, actually, in about 10 to 14 days. But and that entire neurokinetic chain from the receptors to the axillary nerve to C5, the cerebellum, and the brain on the contralateral side starts to atrophy as well. And one of the things I'd like for people to understand is that these are just simple things. I mean, I've got videos where people have been to physical therapists for 2-hour therapies for 18 weeks, and this is still as far as they can move their arm. And literally within 4 minutes, if you activate the correct neurological pathway, you can get full range of motion. But my point with that is that, again, we stop looking at the blinky light and we just can't fix the terminal end here. Just like a gentleman that came in this morning, he had peripheral neuropathy. And I said, well, first of all, believe it or not, he's almost 60 years old. But there was absolutely no type of, when we did our pulse ox, there was no oxygen deficiency. I couldn't believe it. It's the first one I've had. I can't remember the last time somebody came in at that age that didn't have needs some type of oxygen therapy into their body. But see, he had decreased blood flow into that area. And one of since I'm in my exam room, I can go over this. This is one of the little things we use to look at that. It's an infrared scanner. And then we also use this little bitty, it's an infrared to actually get the temperature gauge. But see, the thing that I would like for patients and doctors or anybody that's listening is that the healing is actually in the blood. And if you don't get adequate blood flow into the system, that means decreased blood flow in the extremities means decreased blood flow to the brain. And there's really, in my opinion, no sense in throwing a bunch of supplements in someone if you don't have proper circulation. And right. So you got your hormones, you got your oxygen, you got your glucose, your white blood cells, your immune system. All of that is in the blood. So you've got to get this increased blood flow, and that's what I was telling them is, we got to get blood flow down here. We got to get the pressure off C5. We got to address your brain function. And see, if I didn't know all of these things, I would just look at his feet and go, and I'd keep looking at the quote, the blinky light, meaning that's his feet. And right. And that's what we're going to focus on. And we're doctors, we're scientists. We have to do more than just look at the symptom and look at the whole neurokinetic chain and the metabolic aspect associated with that.
100%. This is the reason, as you're sitting here talking, I'm like, this is the reason why you and I both have practices that don't just stay in our geographical area. We've got patients coming from all over the place because we're giving people answers.
Right.
I think about a kid that I saw last week. I could say he was a kid. He was younger than I am, but he was in his late 30s, full-blown diabetic on insulin. And I'm just scratching my head. And he's like, I need you to fix my neuropathy. I'm like, dude, you got way more problems than just neuropathy.
Right. Right.
Yeah. We can sit here and therapy is about getting blood flow going to those areas and getting to, blood flow going to the blinking lights. If we don't fix the metabolic issues of this, then we're not doing any good whatsoever. And I told him flat out, I said, don't spend a dime or don't pay me a dime unless you are willing to make the necessary dietary changes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And we don't have crystal balls.
Right.
I got a crystal ball for this kid.
Yeah.
Right. Amputation.
Mm-hmm. Right.
If he doesn't start, the medical community is not going to serve him.
Right.
They're just going to keep him on insulin, and that's going to be the answer until they start chopping limbs off.
Well, you got chopping limbs off, dialysis 3 days a week, blindness. Those are because we know that diabetes is going to destroy your kidneys, and lead to blindness. And and it's. I'll give you an example. I had this within about a 3-month period. Within a 6-month period, I had 3 patients that came in with similar conditions. They had holes in the bottom of their feet because of their diabetes. Okay. 2 people did care and 1 person didn't do care. And guess which one's missing a limb below the knee now? The guy that didn't do care,
Right.
And because again, he just couldn't get past the fact that we didn't take insurance. And I'm like, dude, your deductible is $5,000. Okay. You've had this neuropathy for, you've had it for 5 years. You've already dumped $25,000 and you're not eating better. And the answer to this is, and this guy's in his 50s, is to cut you off at the knee. Okay. and so that's what blows my mind. If people that are listening, if you have insurance, look at, number one, how long have you had the problem? What's your deductible? And I think I looked up the other day, the average deductible is like $3,400. Okay. It may be my dyslexia kicks in sometimes, so it might have been 43 or 34, but nevertheless, let's just use lowball it and say 34. And somebody has a problem for just 3 years. I mean, you're looking at $10,000. We're not even talking about the copayment. We're just talking about the deductible. They've already dropped $10,000. And that is never going to stop because nobody's going to solve your chronic problem.
Right.
And that's what is so insane about, we have to, as doctors, be able to explain why we don't take insurance. And the answer is part of your debilitation here is because your doctor actually takes insurance and they're never going to look outside of your insurance to solve this problem.
Right.
And I tell patients all the time, if your insurance is going to solve the problem, it already would have. If your doctor was going to solve this problem billing your insurance, it already would have been solved.
Right.
So, just because a doctor does take insurance doesn't, you can just, what's the definition of insanity? You continue to do the same thing over and over again, expecting to get a different result. And we have to look outside of that. And and again, this guy got his leg cut off at the knee and he's in his 50s and, there's just something that's just not sexy about somebody in their 50s walking around with a, So I'm just speaking for myself, man. I have all of my limbs and I plan on keeping them, but it's and it's just, I don't know. It's just, people are just weird sometimes.
Right.
And that's the example that I use is you got, kind of like the story, 3 people come into your clinic. Okay. 2 of them do care and they keep their foot and 1 of them doesn't do care and gets cut off at the knees and, or at one knee. And so It's,
but I know because insurance covered that.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is one of the things that I would like to let people know is that, insurance, if you get your leg cut off, insurance will cover that. If you need a home health care nurse to push you around your house in your wheelchair, insurance will pay for that. If you destroy your kidneys and you need dialysis, and yeah, that's what I want to do. I wanted to, I just turned 57. So when I get 65, I want to totally destroy my life so that when I retire, which I'm never going to retire, I'm just using this as a metaphor, that, I go from retirement to getting dialysis 3 days a week at 4 hours at a time. And then I'll have to have someone drive me there because I can't see anymore. But see, insurance will pay for all of those things. And this is what I want people to understand. If this is the take-home message, is insurance pays for end-stage pathology. That's what they do. Right. Okay. They'll pay for acute care. Thank goodness they do that. And then they'll pay for end-stage pathology. And I tell patients all the time, or people all the time, think about it like this. I mean, I have insurance on my house. I have insurance on my building here. But like with my house, if I need to get my shingles, I need to do re-roof my house, insurance ain't going to pay for that unless a tornado comes in or a tree limb falls over and destroys my roof. And I've got umbrella insurance. It covers everything except maintenance care or preventive care. And it's the same thing with my office here. I spent about $13,000. I don't know, it's 3 or 4 years ago, 5 years ago, I can't remember. On my roof because it was leaking, because it was just, it was an older building and it just needed repair. And insurance wasn't going to cover that, even though I've got full coverage. It's just I don't have coverage on those kind of things. So again, just because somebody has insurance, it doesn't. It's not the answer to everything. And a lot of people, it's your demise just from a standpoint of because you have problems that are going to need to be taken care of that's outside of what your insurance is going to cover. And you need doctors who think outside of that box. And I mean, I had a medical doctor the other day. I was at the wellness center, and he goes, "Man, I'm just the in the box thinker. I'm just in the box." And I'm like, "That's good. We need people like that." But we also need people who are outside the box that actually go, okay, how are we going to solve this problem with this person? And it requires outside the box thinking in order to do that.
And it's hard thinking outside the box too, because suddenly when you start thinking outside the box, you start teaching and preaching outside the box, all of a sudden you're the quack, you're the weirdo. Here's the reality. Inside the box thinking is going to keep you inside that medical merry-go-round. It just keeps spinning around, taking your money, and you don't get any better.
Yep.
It's not until you take massive action, not until you actually take responsibility for yourself, that you start to see these changes start to happen.
So, and when you think outside the box, this is why, like in my community and 2 of the TV stations that I have before I actually wrote my book, all I had was patient testimonials. Testimony, 1 minute testimonial after testimonial after testimonial after testimonial. And I had 30 to 40 of those, and I would just run those three times a week, well, multiple times, but on 3 days during the week. And that was the thing. I'd just tell people, it's like, you saw the lady on on WTVA, right? Didn't take insurance. Did she look like she could afford it? Probably not, but she did. And the reason is, at some point, people have to realize that the only person that's going to take care of me, if I don't care about myself and I'm not going to invest in myself, nobody else is going to. And it's just like the thing that at the seminar that I'm going to be teaching in Houston, Texas. And the number one, the ultimate rule is you have to fix you first. And that means you got to fix your health, your brain, your metabolic activity, your autoimmune disorder. Because see, as doctors, if we don't fix us first, then, I was at Crosstown, I don't know, this is a while back, and this lady there, and she's a pediatrician, and if she weighs an ounce, she weighed 350 pounds. Right. And I said, that's the problem with our healthcare system right there. You got a person that's 350 pounds. She's probably 5'5", and then people are taking healthcare advice from this bovine, trying to be nice, and right. I mean, and if the person you're looking at is sicker than you are, why are you taking advice from this person? Okay. It's like, going to LA and finding, going down Sunset Strip and then picking out 10 people that's, in the little tent and going, hey, give me financial advice. That's the same situation. And, at least take advice from someone who is actively pursuing and investing in themselves, and they actually are healthy. Because again, when people come into my clinic and I say, do the 10-week detox, I've already done it. When I say, do the Cyrex array number 5, I've already done it. When I say, do the Enterolab to find out if you have a gluten sensitivity problem, and if you do, then we have to get off gluten, I've already done it. Have a gluten-free lifestyle. I'm leading the way. I show people just like yourself. And this is not a clinic where it's do as I say, not as I do. It's like, man, we are walking the walk here, and we're talking the talk. And this is why, we change people's lives. And I've got people from 15 different states and 2 different countries that come in here, and they don't come in because they take insurance. They come in because they change people's lives.
Right.
So, and just like the Canadians that come down here, they don't come down here because they take insurance. They've got free health care. I'll give you an example. Got a video of a guy that came down here. This is a couple of years, maybe 3 or 4 years ago. And I didn't get into detail with him. He just said he had spent $14,000 out of his own pocket for his frozen shoulder. And here we go, circling back around to frozen shoulder again. And, the program that I had at the time was, I think it was $4,400. Mm-hmm. And he said, well, come down here to Tupelo. And he said, well, what if you don't help me? And I said, well, if I don't help you, I'm not going to charge you. If we can fix your shoulder, we're going to know that in 2 visits. Okay. And, but I said, if not, Elvis Presley, his birthplace is about 2 miles up the road. You can go hang out with the ghost of Elvis if you want to. So comes down and then he told me that he'd already spent $14,000 out of his pocket. Now, again, this is a Canadian. I don't know how that happens where they're supposed to have free health care. And so he comes down and then boom, free up his frozen shoulder. And he comes back to second visit and he goes, man, I'm like 2 or 3 times stronger, already than I was before. And he's an ex-police officer. And just, so again, it's, I don't know why we got, from coming down from Canada, I've had people with peripheral neuropathy come down here and see, again, these people have so-called free health care and they're not getting anywhere with it. Okay. It's 0 results for most of these people. And I'm not saying that they're not getting results with acute care, but we don't deal with acute care patients. We deal with chronic care patients. And again, that's why I wrote my book, License to Heal, is because I want people to understand is, if I twist my ankle, I'm going to play racquetball as soon as we get finished here. And hopefully I won't twist my ankle today. I hardly ever do, but it seems like I run in a cycle about every 9 months. I twist my ankle. All right. Well, we know where the blinky light is. It's an acute problem. I twisted my ankle. Bam, it's inflamed. Okay. But the problem is with chronic health problems, where the blinky light is doesn't necessarily mean that's the only area we need to focus on. If I twist my ankle, yes, I want to focus on that area because we know it's acute. We know where the problem is. But again, with these chronic problems, there's at least 7 different areas that we have to look at and rule those areas in or rule them out. And if we do a metabolic testing and it comes back and we don't have a glucose problem, good, we skip that. Do we have a kidney problem? Do we have a liver problem? Do we have anemia? So we do these metabolic testing to find out what areas are damaged and what areas we need to focus on and what areas we don't have to deal with. And see, everything outside of that, Brady, and I'm just telling people that's listening, everything else is speculation. Mm-hmm. I could say, well, probably you have a blood sugar problem, but until we do a blood test, we won't know. Probably you have a kidney problem. Probably you have high triglycerides. But see, these are all probabilities. I don't know until we do these tests. Do you have a autoimmune disorder that's because of gluten? Probably, but that's as far as I'm going to go with it until we do the test. And so it's why don't we just do the test, and find out yes or no, we have this problem, and then we deal with it.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you 100%. You know, most people I was going to say with the blinky light thing, with chronic conditions, most people actually have their blinky light is in their pantry and in the fridge. They're not aware of it yet.
Yeah.
We got to teach them. So.
Yeah, and see again, that's the difference is if you know when you don't take insurance, there's, as far as I know, there's no ICD code for teaching a patient how to change their life, and see, but with us, with that, I mean, there may be, I don't know, I'm assuming there's not, but see, when I have a relationship with the patient, and that one-on-one relationship, and I don't have to worry about this entity over here that we never see, and I go to the mailbox and I just mysteriously, get a check in the mail. That relationship, the patient's just part of this transaction to how I make a living, if that was the way. I need to see this human being in front of me. I don't really care that much about them. I just have to see them, because that avenue, seeing that patient, means that I get to put numbers and letters and an insurance code and send it off, and then I get money in my mailbox.
Right. Okay.
But see, when you don't take insurance, that relationship is directly with me and the patient. It's not with the insurance company. I don't know if patients really care about that much, but I promise you, if you pay out of pocket, you're going to expect to get better. And that's why if I see that I can help a patient, I tell them. And if I tell them that they're too far gone, there's nothing I can do, it's like, you're just too far gone and there's nothing I can do. And because the people that come in here, if they follow my best recommendation, I truly expect to change their life, because we've had everything from seizures to balance disorders to ADD to Asperger's. I mean, but again, I'm going to give people my best recommendation, which most of the time include a metabolic, neurological, and possibly, if our clinic director or medical director accepts them, then we may do some regenerative medicine with that as well. But that's totally on their decision to decide if they're going to take them for that side.
Awesome. Hey, man, I appreciate it. I think we're running a little short on time here.
All right, Brady. Well, thank you, brother. And
anyway, I'm going to look next week. Let's take it off. It's President or Martin Luther King Day. My kids are going to be here. So
we'll be off next week. Okay. I'll see you in 2 weeks, brother. Thank you.
All right. Love you, Andy.
Love you, man. Bye-bye.